A year ago, I would have laughed in someone's face if they had said that my entire world would fall apart in one night. For my life, it was sturdy. I had a fiancé I was willing to spend the rest of my life with, a family I believed would support me, and a career I was proud of. It all turned out to be a goddamn joke. What about the punchline? The only person who was unaware was me. It began as a typical Friday. I chose to surprise my fiancée, Linda, with her favorite takeaway because work was slow. A brief evening spent together at home. Something easy. I even picked up some flowers. Fucking flowers. Everything seemed strange when I arrived at our flat. It was unnaturally quiet, yet Linda's shoes were beside the door. No music, no TV. Nothing but quiet, but for a slight noise emanating from the bedroom. Laughter. With my heart racing, I paused and forced myself to get rid of the nagging discomfort. She might have been on the phone. Perhaps she was viewing a stupid TikTok. Then I heard it once more. The laugh of a man. My brother's chuckle. My whole world fell apart the moment I unlocked the bedroom door. Linda. Chris. My brother. We chose the mattress jointly when we moved here 2 years ago. And now it's tangled in my bed, covered by my linens. I had given Linda the huge shirt with the dumb, corny heart print for Valentine's Day, and she was wearing it. Chris, he dared to appear taken aback, as if I were violating their privacy. No one moved for a second. No one said anything. Linda's face was pale, and she fumbled for the blanket, as if hiding would make what I had just witnessed disappear. Chris, who is a complete idiot, dared to say, "It's not what it looks like." It nearly made me chuckle. Not what it appears to be? What the heck, Chris? You two were merely snuggling for warmth while naked? I turned to face Linda. She made no attempt to refute it, waited for me to lose it, while sitting there and holding onto the blankets. I didn't. Because of rage? It was simply too simple. I simply let out a slow exhale instead, speaking in a calm, almost detached tone. Pack your shit and get out. Linda's mouth opened as if she were about to speak, but nothing came out. I interrupted Chris before he could finish his rambling excuses. "You're dead to me." He closed his mouth. Then I left, so nothing more could be said. I stayed at a friend's house that night, just letting it settle in while I stared at the ceiling. My fiancé, my own brother, they weren't merely dishonest. They deliberately chose to demolish everything I held dear, and everything I had created with them. What's the worst? They showed no remorse at all. I returned to the apartment the following day. Linda had left. Her belongings also gone. Excellent. However, there was a message on the kitchen counter where we kept our framed photos. It wasn't long. Not sweet, though. I never meant to hurt you. I fell in love with Chris. I hope one day you can be happy for us. Are you pleased for them? I remained there clutching the counter until my knuckles grew white, then smashed the paper in my fist and tossed it directly in the garbage. I was finished. With Chris, with her, with the life I believed to be mine. What's the worst? The treachery? It was only getting started. Due to my family? They were going to demonstrate their true allegiance. And it was definitely not with me. I've always believed that family should support you. As it happens, mine was always devoted to convenience. Because I believed the worst was over, when I discovered my fiancé having an affair with my brother, I believed that I could leave them, break ties with them, and begin re-establishing my life from the ashes they had left behind. But treachery? Betrayal doesn't simply destroy you. While you're on the ground, it continues to kick you. What about my family? They ensured it. I didn't get in touch with Chris and Linda the day after I learned, blocked their phone numbers, erased every picture, text message, and recollection that had any significance. However, the actual battle had not yet begun, because I knew that things were going to grow worse the instant my mother called. I nearly didn't answer. I did, however, in spite of my better judgment. I just talked to Chris. He told me everything, she added, her voice brimming with phony pity. All of it? He told her how he penetrated my fiancée. Is that correct? How did he discard our whole fraternity for a single screw? I said in a dry voice. Yeah? And what exactly did he tell you? My mom paused. That's when I realized she didn't support me. Look, honey, love is complicated. I saw my jaw getting tense. Excuse me? She went on. He didn't mean to hurt you, as if I were a little kid she had to appease. Sometimes, these things just happen. You and Linda were growing apart. And stop. She stopped talking. I struggled to maintain a steady voice while holding the phone so tightly that my fingers hurt. Are you seriously making excuses for them? She blurted out. I'm not making excuses. I just think you should try to understand. You get it? Know what? That even my own mother was siding with the man who had deceived me? That her happiness was more important to her than the reality that Chris had just destroyed my whole life? I laughed sharply and bitterly. Wow, I whispered. Ethan, please, no. I abruptly interrupted her. Let me make something crystal clear. Chris is dead to me. Linda is dead to me. And if you think for one goddamn second that I'm going to sit here and let you justify this, I forced the anger down with a sharp exhale. Then you can consider yourself dead to me too. Quiet. Then she fell silent. You don't mean that. Yes, I replied icily and definitively. I do. Then, before she had a chance to speak, I ended the call and also banned her number. The days that followed were a haze. I was going to go crazy if anyone else tried to convince me to forgive and move on, so I ignored every call from my dad, my cousins, and even my aunt. However, my sister Mia then arrived at my door. She appeared enraged. Excellent, because I was too. As soon as I opened the door, she demanded, Ethan, what the hell is going on? I let out a sigh. Did Mom send you? No, she yelled. I heard it from our cousin, and now suddenly, half the family is acting like you're the problem. I laughed resentfully. Of course they are. She gave me a prolonged look. She said, Did it really happen? In a calmer tone. Chris and Linda? I tightened my jaw. Yeah. Her face grew stern. That son of a bitch. Unlike the others, Mia was unique. The only person in our family who ever had a backbone and didn't mindlessly adopt whatever nonsense storyline was most convenient was her. She shook her head and inhaled sharply. And Mom's defending him? I mumbled. Of course she is. Mia balled her hands into fists. That's disgusting. I groaned and combed my hair, saying, Yeah, well, that's our family. We were silent for a long time. At last, she raised her head, her face stern. I'm on your side, Ethan. Always. And I felt a little weight come off my chest for the first time in days. Since I wasn't entirely alone, at least. The weeks ahead? Brutal. Linda and Chris formally announced it. Postings on Facebook. Adorable photos of a small couple, as though they weren't a living hell of treachery. What about my family? I cut them off. And half of them pretended that I was the bad guy. The other half simply acted as if nothing had occurred. Aside from Mia, only Mia was able to see things for what they were. However, despite her encouragement, I was certain of one thing: I had to leave these folks immediately. Because remaining in that city, being reminded of what they did to me on a daily basis, that was out of the question. I decided as a result, I was heading out. A brand new city, a new beginning, a life free of their nonsense that included my name. And if they were going to make me the villain for leaving, well, anything, since I was finished, alongside them, with each one of them. It wasn't as simple as packing a bag and heading out. It was disorganized. It hurt, and it opened my eyes to the extent of my family's treachery. Since they weren't solely on Chris's side, they made it their goal to paint me as the villain for leaving. The initial issue? Mom was adamant about it. Despite my blocking her, She managed to go around it. Emails, messages on Facebook, even handwritten messages were stuffed beneath the door of my residence. They were all the same nonsense. Chris feels awful, Ethan. You're being too harsh. Family forgives, no matter what. You need to move on. Linda wasn't the right one for you anyway. As if that improved it. As if the years I squandered on her were magically erased. That, in some way, altered the reality that my own brother had deceived me in the most heinous manner. I choose to disregard it all. Then again, I lost my mind because of what she did. One day, I was about to pass out when I arrived home from work and noticed a car parked outside my apartment complex. Chris's vehicle. My whole body went rigid. He was still there even though I had banned his number and denied his presence. Awaiting. I ought to have continued to walk. However, I exploded when I saw him get out of the car. With my fists clenched at my sides, I said, "What the hell are you doing here?" Chris had the audacity to appear uneasy, as though he had been wronged. "Ethan, man, I just wanted to talk." I chuckled, but not in a genuine way. It had a keen edge, bitter. "You lost the right to talk to me the second you crawled into bed with my fiancée." He winced. "Excellent." He rubbed the back of his neck and said, "I didn't plan for it to happen like that." "Oh, so you just tripped and fell into my bed? Is that it?" I replied. He clenched his jaw. He had no response to that question. We were silent for a long time. Finally, he let out a breath and played his final, pitiful card. "Look, I messed up, okay? But Mom says I moved forward a step." "Don't." He paused in the middle and blinked. "Don't bring Mom into this. Don't tell me what she thinks. Don't stand here acting like you feel bad when the only thing you regret is getting caught." I gestured to his vehicle. "Get the hell out of here, and don't ever come near me again." His mouth opened as if to argue, and his face contorted. However, I was finished. I pivoted, entered, and shut the door after me. That was the last straw. I wasn't merely ignoring Linda and Chris. I was severing all those who supported them. I therefore created a list of persons who were dead to me, literally, written by hand. Chris, Linda, Mom. The audacity of my uncle to declare, "Boys will be boys." A family intervention was attempted by Aunt Carol in an attempt to fix things. I wiped them out of my life, one by one, blocked them, removed them, and when my lease expired, I gathered my belongings and departed from that city permanently. I had an oddly calm first few months in my new residence. Not a drama, no betrayal, no compelled family gatherings where I had to act as though nothing was wrong. Simply put, peace. I wasn't sure what to do with it at first. It seemed almost strange to be rid of their nonsense after spending so much time drowning in it. Then again, I began creating a life that truly belonged to me. I visited the gym, revived traditional pastimes. I began conversing with folks who genuinely cared about me. And slowly, it ceased to feel like an open wound. It turned into a scar. Even though it was no longer in charge of me, it would always be there. Then, I became aware of how much better things were for me when anything happened. I received a text message one evening from an unidentified number. I almost overlooked it at first. However, my curiosity overcame me. I took it open, and all at once, I smiled. Since Linda sent it, it was also pitiful. "Hey, Ethan, I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I miss you. I miss us. If you ever want to talk, I'd really love to. You must be joking me, I see." I chuckled. In fact, I laughed. This woman's chutzpah. After choosing my brother and discarding everything we owned, she suddenly missed me. It was pitiful. I didn't answer. Simply blocked her. Because of some individuals, they're not worthy of closure. They are undeserving of anything. What about Linda? She was merely a negative recollection. What about Chris? I heard that he committed suicide, cheated on Linda, was apprehended, lost his job. What about Mom? She made one final attempt to get in touch with me, pleading with me to spend Christmas at home. Without thinking, I erased the message, as I no longer considered that to be my home. And it would never happen again. It took some time to move on. It wasn't simple. I initially believed that by cutting off all of them, Chris, Linda, my mother, and the entire toxic tangle of them, I would suddenly awaken and be free. However, that is not how life operates. In actuality, the ghosts continue to pursue you even after you leave, even after you've burned every bridge and blocked every number. The memories would seep in like poison on some evenings while I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling, not only of Chris and Linda, but of everything that existed before the treachery. Linda's habit of dozing off on my chest. When we were kids, Chris and I would play basketball in our driveway. The way Mom used to prepare dinner for all of us while emphasizing how important family is. And now, all of it was crap now. I realize now that it had all been a lie. And that, the hardest pill to swallow was that one. However, the problem with pain is that it can either make you stronger or destroy you. I also resisted letting them ruin me, so I concentrated on myself, using all of my resentment, betrayal, and sorrow as fuel. I worked out harder than ever. I put myself into my profession, my interests, and creating a tangible future for myself. And I felt like I was living for myself for the first time in years. Not for Linda, not for my alleged relatives, only for me. Then one evening, Mia called me. I picked it up right away. She was the only one with whom I remained in contact, and who never attempted to deceive me into thinking I was exaggerating. Her words were, "Hey, little brother, and got some interesting news for you," I inquired, anticipating the typical family turmoil. What now? Chris and Linda broke up. In fact, I burst out laughing. "You're kidding." "Oh, it gets better," she remarked in a laugh-filled voice. "Turns out, Chris cheated on her with her best friend." I almost dropped my phone. I could choke on the irony because it was so thick. For Chris, Linda threw everything away. She ruined our life and our engagement for a brief affair with my brother. And now, the same way she played me, she got played. Mia let out a loud sigh. "I swear, Ethan, I wish I could have been there when she found out." Apparently, she went ballistic. Screaming, throwing shit, total meltdown. Jesus. I shook my head and murmured. "And get this," said Mia. "She told people she regrets everything, that she misses you." I fell silent, because everything made sense all of a sudden. Linda's text, the one I had overlooked. She wasn't contacting you because she was genuinely sorry. She was contacting you because she didn't want to be alone after being dumped. I smiled. "Tell me she's miserable." Mia gave a snort. "She's miserable as hell. And what do you know? I had no feelings. Not rage. Not melancholy. Not even contentment. For Linda's sake, she was no longer even worthy of my hatred. Life continued to move after that. I was in a relationship. Nothing major. Just getting back out there and reminding myself that love wasn't a magic bullet, but rather a decision. And if someone treated me like I was disposable, I would never select them again. Then, I met a person one evening. Not scheduled, not coerced. It's just one of those unexpected things that happen. Rachel was her name. She was intelligent, humorous, and utterly uninterested in drama. We struck up a conversation at a bar, and before I knew it, hours had gone by. She refrained from prying. She didn't inquire about my history. When I chose to tell her, she simply listened. After I finished, she sipped her drink, leaned back in her chair, and said, "Damn, you really dodged a bullet, huh?" I chuckled. A genuine chuckle. Not resentful, not coerced. A laugh that was genuinely enjoyable. "Yeah," I replied with a head shake. I really did. And I genuinely believed it for the first time. in a very long time. Moving on doesn't happen all at once, which is the problem. You don't wake up and feel great all of a sudden in a huge, dramatic event. No, it moves slowly. It's realizing one morning that you haven't given them any thought for days. It's feeling nothing when you hear a music that used to make you think of them. It involves witnessing the disintegration of those who have harmed you and losing interest in them. And that, you'll know you've really won then. Rachel and I continued to hang out. Nothing extraordinary. Don't hurry. Just casual chats, giggles, and evenings spent conversing until dawn. She was completely different from Linda. She wasn't a gamer. I didn't feel inferior to her. She made me feel like we were on an equal footing rather than acting as though I was fortunate to have her. And that was novel. I didn't feel like I was treading carefully for the first time in a long time, as if I didn't need to prove myself to someone who was merely looking for a reason to go out. Rachel liked me just the way I was. And that was sufficient. I received a voicemail from an unknown number one evening, months after everything involving Linda and Chris had finally burned to the ground. I initially disregarded it, but I felt compelled to see. I took it open, and I laughed at once. Since Chris sent it, I'd severed the brother, the same brother who cheated on me in the most heinous manner. What was his message? Bullshit, pure and desperate. Hey, man, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I miss you, bro. I hate how things turned out. I wish we could talk. My smile was slow and harsh as I gazed at the television, because right now, it was he who lost everything now. Linda had left. His life had fallen apart, and he wanted to get in touch now. Too late, too little. I didn't answer. I simply blocked the phone and resumed my life. Because of some individuals, they are unworthy of pardon. They are not worthy of another opportunity. They're not worthy of you. Through Mia, I learned that Chris had returned home a year later, broke, by themselves. A complete and utter failure. What about Linda? Within months of breaking up with him, I got married to someone else. She never truly loved Chris, it turns out. He was merely practical. All she wanted was something fresh and thrilling. What about the time he wasn't? She threw him away, just as she did to me. I guess karma is a bitch. Now, as I look back, I can clearly see it. Linda and Chris believed they had it all. They believed that I would be the one left in pieces, that I would miss them, yearn for them, and wish that things had turned out differently. However, what is the reality? I didn't turn around, not once. Because of life after them? In every sense, it was superior. I had true friends, true joy, and a true future. And above all, I was able to regain myself. For what better retaliation? It's not rage. They are not suffering as a result. It's this simple, living such a wonderful life that they just end up as a negative recollection. And me, I prevailed. The final chapter.